Solving structural hunger is no easy task. Hamara is solving that. Let's see how.
To love somebody, you have to understand them. And I think that a lot of people, to appease their conscience, go for the quick give. And
Yes.
like you mentioned, like hand out. As long as I get it off my plate, that's what I'm called to do. And Jesus' argument is you're not called to giving out of obedience. You're called to giving out of love.
Aid is a great triage mechanism. It is not a solution to a problem, right?
And that's a great word. The word triage is such a good word for it. But can you imagine putting on a bandage, consistently strapping somebody's leg who isn't like that or thinks that their leg now is broken because you've put a cast on it? And so now they just wait for everything you're going to do for them, where they're not bleeding out and there isn't a problem actually, or their leg isn't actually broken. And yet you're now trying to solve that solution and telling them that this is the problem that they have.
Run us through one example of how the Hamara platform works.
So you mentioned broilers. Broilers are the chickens you eat, yeah?
The chicken breasts, things like that.
Exactly.
Chickens that are
when you go to
grown
KFC,
eat. Yeah.
you're eating the end product of the
Got it.
broiler value chain.
Got
So the value chain starts with feed and chicks, yeah? And a chick is a little day-old chick, and feed is the stuff you have to feed it. And it's really, really important to get the right nutrition. A lot of people believe you can throw some corn on the ground and chickens will be okay. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they'll survive, but they can't grow to the efficiency and cost factors that you need to be able to produce and compete. What we do is that we take those into a contract, and that contract is given to a farmer. And that farmer grows out those birds with the feed and the different inputs, but they also have all the support of the local churches around them, but also the vet side and the technical side of teaching them how to grow the product better. And these visits happen often. We're talking about once, twice a week, where they're walking in and out of the chicken houses with farmers, teaching them, and they're doing courses, and the farmers are learning so that you gain that technical knowledge to be able to do it. Chickens these days and farming these days is more like driving a Formula One car than driving a battered old Land Rover down the road. It's a highly finessed process that you're trying to get the most out of the car. And agriculture is quite similar to that. It's a beautiful, incredibly productive process that God made to be efficient.
Zoom out then, and let's say KFC is the end consumer in this cycle. So they place an order for X amount of birds.
Yep.
How does the money flow? How does that kind of all work?
Such a good question. So one of the things we learned over the many years is that you have to have a demand-driven chain. So you started at the right end, and you start with the demand.
Yes.
And so an organization like KFC or others would come onto our platform and provide orders for product. It's less like an order and more like a contract.
Okay.
And they would provide a contract that they will say, we will offtake this amount of product at this quality at this price.
Okay.
And they put that onto the platform.
Yep.
And as they put it out there, we have thousands of farmers across various countries
All
and
working
places.
what you call clubs together of 10 to 30-ish farmers working in community together, accountable to each other, local oversight, chiefs, all of that type of stuff.
And those farming clubs, we call them a club. They're like an enhanced co-op structure. They put about 10 to 50 people, and they're free to pick which people and how, and we can dig into that in a little bit. But like you said, that creates this real accountability, and those clubs apply to deliver on this contract.
So KFC placed an order for 20,000 chickens.
Yeah.
You got 5 clubs bid for different portions of it.
Yep.
3 clubs get awarded the contract.
Yep.
How do they get the inputs? How's the money flow? Do you give money to the farmers, or how does that work?
So what happens is that then that farming club can apply to our system for money if they don't have the money to be able to grow for that contract. And when they apply, we then vet them. Again, we confirm that they are the level that they should be, etc., etc. And when they have been accepted by the contract and they've applied for this and we've accepted them, we then pay for their inputs. We will pay the input supplier who will deliver the feed and chicks to them.
The company who's making the food. And the feed
Exactly.
And the chicks. Okay.
Yeah.
So those get delivered to the farmers. The farmers spend 42 days roughly growing the chicks.
With the support of the technical service and all the community side.
All of that side of things. And then a logistics provider comes, picks it up, takes it to the processing plant does it, then takes it to KFC.
Exactly.
KFC then pays your treasury system back, and everyone gets paid out at once.
Exactly. And it's very, very key that this happens. If you give money to a farmer on the ground or cash starts moving, firstly, it's very expensive for cash to move. And secondly, you have huge losses. There's a huge amount of risk in it. And so money never touches the farmer's hand until the profit at the end.
We saw a farmer yesterday. He was, before interacting with you guys, he was farming maize. He was making about $500 a year. Then he started working with you guys. Now he's doing broilers. He's making $500 every 2 months. So now he's making $3,000 a year. And I've seen it, and you see his house, and you see how he's built things up around it, and you see how he's taking his kids to school and all that stuff. So he's 6x his income, and he started working with you guys 18 months ago.
The other thing that we see, Zach, along the way is sometimes they grow to 5 or 8, or they develop in themselves. Often we also see in very, very good communities that they start to develop their kids, and their kids start to join the business to begin with. And a lot of people talk about it like, oh, that's child labor. No. The kids join the business to want to, like in the old days where your father was a butcher, you become a butcher sort of environment. The kids start working and enjoying the environment with it, and by doing that, you start getting the next generation coming up actually understanding a lot better than their parents.
How should we think about, if people want to get involved, how do we get involved from a capital standpoint?
Really, really good question. Yes, so the answer is every scalable business needs capital. I mentioned earlier that we decentralize the value chain, and one of the things we decentralize is the capital piece, and we're partnered with many banks and local insurance companies, etc., to be able to provide those services. But one of the big pieces of it is the capital. If farmers go into a local microfinance institution in Africa today, they're paying 4 to 7% per month. That is obscene. It's daylight robbery, basically, because the farmer can never compete with a commercial entity next door earning a 12% interest per annum or a rev share on that and actually compete. And so, yes, there is a huge demand for capital, because as we develop these farmers through that process and these clubs through that process, what happens is that they have a desire to scale. Africa sits on 24% of the world's arable land. We're the continent with the most arable land out of any continent. If Africa actually used the arable land and the resources that God has given it, Africa would feed itself and 40 to 60% of the rest of the world.
We're looking for 100 families to partner with Hamara. Join today and fund the fight against structural hunger.